Welcome back to my channel. I'm Haley and today I have another speed build for you guys. So we are building on the Brindleton boathouse lot in Brindleton Bay because it has a really nice beachfront view, and I was going for more of a coastal style home. We are actually building on a pretty tiny lot. I think it might be it's either a 20 by 15 or a 30 by 20 lot. I'm not quite sure. But because this house is pretty big, it didn't leave a lot of yard space for activities. But then again, with it being on the beach, I figure the Sims living in this household probably spend any outdoor time they can right there on the water. I feel like this family probably sits on their back porch pretty often, has a nice morning cup of joe, and the dining room ends up having a pretty lovely view of the beachfront as well, so they can get that same sort of feeling of being outdoors right there on the water, even when they're dining inside. I sort of had a vision for the outside of the house, so I think it came together pretty quickly. I obviously made some tweaks here and there because I was trying to utilize less of the lot space for the home and sort of give them just a little bit more room outside. Plus, at one point, I felt like I made the house just too big, but I ended up finding a sort of good middle ground, and then I started to figure out the layout of the interior before I placed any more windows. It did take me quite a bit to figure out how I wanted to put the staircase in this house. I actually cut out a ton of footage of me trying to figure this one out because I was trying to make sure that there was at least 3 big bedrooms upstairs, and I ended up having, I think, 4 bedrooms total. Um, 2 of them, including the master, being pretty decently sized. The fourth bedroom is pretty tiny. I turned it into a nursery, but it also just as easily probably could have been like a study or office space, or maybe even just a small guest room that they had upstairs. Downstairs, I decided to keep a little bit of a garage area and included a big eat-in kitchen and had a powder room, and then also I included a bedroom slash study downstairs. I decorated it to be a study, but if you had an even bigger family for this household, you could also turn this into an additional bedroom. You could probably even bump out the powder room and make it a little bit bigger to include a shower and make that a full bathroom downstairs as well. After I figure out the interior layout, I go back outside and I'm going to finish up the exterior before decorating inside. I raised up the left side of the lot a little bit to create more of a driveway area off of what I am mimicking as a garage, since we don't actually have cars in The Sims 4, nor do I think we will ever see. But that is what The Sims 3 is for. Just go back and play a little bit of that, and it gets my mind off things. I'm overall happy with the amount of content Sims 4 has been putting out and is continuing to put out, and I am very excited for upcoming updates in early 2023, like potential infants, as they're calling them. I really enjoy the new clutter kit that came out, and having the ability to use some more of those things in my builds and to just get something new. And the bookshelf from the pastel pop kit pairs really nicely with a lot of that clutter that we got from the kit. But anyways, back to the build. I feel like my use of terrain paint here was a definitive trust the process before I finished the landscaping on the exterior of the house. I think I would have been happier if this was on a slightly bigger lot, so I could have smoothed out the hill a little bit more, maybe even made more of a retaining wall, but I really enjoyed the view in Brindleton Bay on this one. The overall landscaping is pretty average. I focus a lot of the overgrowth in the flower beds in the front, and then the back is a little bit more plainly decorated. I also use this fence to sort of create a little bit of a retaining wall, which I thought looked pretty nice and also tied into the lighthouse that you can see in the back of Brindleton Bay. Also, I apologize for the brief interruptions in background noise. My toddler is currently having a ball with bath time right now, and his toys are on secret missions and fighting the world, I think. I think after a while I get pretty sick of landscaping, but it is a necessary evil. Without it, houses just look very plain and uninviting. And as I mentioned in previous builds, it can be pretty transformative. But at least I am almost done with the landscaping. After the landscaping is done, that's pretty much the majority of the outdoor decoration. So I go inside and start the interior. Like I mentioned before, this house ends up having 4+ bedrooms and 2.5 bathrooms. It is meant to house a pretty big family. I have a double bed in the master suite, and there is a teen or child's room for a girl. They don't have to share their room with anybody. I created a nursery, and then I also have an additional bedroom that has both a toddler bed and a full-size bed in it. So I believe that means this is set up for about 6 Sims. Yay, we can math. 6 Sims. But like I mentioned, the downstairs study probably could have been turned into an additional bedroom, or even the nursery could have an additional bed as well, depending on how you want to do things. I think the use of the bunk beds would probably go pretty nicely in this house, but I'm not a huge fan of the base game ones. I feel like I probably should have placed the exterior wallpaper a little bit sooner because I was feeling a little bleh about the house, but once I put that wallpaper on outside, it definitely felt more complete to me, and I enjoyed my use of both vertical and horizontal siding. But it is finally time to start decorating the interior of the house. I start by picking some wallpapers. I think this house overall is very blue with the exception of the kids' rooms, but that's probably one of the parent Sims' favorite colors. Otherwise, I don't know why their house would be decorated this way. I think the kitchen ended up being one of my favorite parts about the build. It just felt very big and homely and also pretty realistic to have just sort of this giant eat-in kitchen. I had the space that I could have separated, but I felt like this made more sense. I did fiddle with the overhead cabinets a bit before I found a layout that I liked, but overall it turned out pretty nice. I definitely tried to include a big island or even a little peninsula, but it didn't really fit the space as I was expecting it to, and I also wanted there to be a pretty big dining room table since there were a lot of Sims in this household. I started cluttering up the space but realized I wanted some more overhead cabinets on this side because the kitchen just felt a little bit unbalanced, even with the windows. But overall, the kitchen came together pretty quickly and made sense for not only the space but the family as well. The light wood tones and blues and more neutral tones definitely gave it a more coastal vibe. I really wanted to use a big round table, but we don't really have that in base game. So I went with this wood table and used the base game update chairs from Hey Harry. These chairs are beautiful. I use them all the time, and I think they suit both a modern and traditional style home. But other than that, the kitchen is pretty much done. So I do a little bit of decorating in the back hallway and then move on to the living room, and I definitely fiddle with the layout of the powder room and tried to give myself more wall space in the living room, but I ended up putting the main door back on to the living space because I didn't feel like there was enough room for two entrances to the powder room. I also tried to put a fireplace, but I didn't really think it suited the space. And also, we're living at the beach. I don't know how much a fireplace would actually get in use. I would assume that the Sims just wouldn't use it that much. Plus, I didn't have room to then include a fireplace in the master bedroom, which I like to do if there's also one in the living space, and I didn't include a chimney on the outside either, so it didn't really make sense. The living space is pretty much done at this point. I really enjoyed the picture I used over the sofa because it had depicted sort of a beach scene. And I ended up going back and changing some of the clutter in the living room because I ended up finding a sculpture of a boat, which matched the theme a little bit better. But other than that, I didn't change much to the living room. I went ahead and decorated the powder room. It's pretty simple with just a standalone sink and toilet. And then in the study, I decided to put some bookshelves, a desk, and added a little art area. This is a space that I also thought could be used as a guest room or other bedroom if you wanted to, and you could probably expand the bathroom out just a little bit more to make it a full bathroom. So maybe if someone else moved into this house and wanted to do some updates, that's something they could have done. Or they could even convert the garage space into an additional living space or like game room slash movie theater, which it kind of already is. I did include a gaming table, but there's also a woodworking table and some workout equipment in that garage space as well. I also included some monkey bars outside and some garden pots, and then went ahead and quickly decorated the patio with a table and barbecue. You'll also see that I changed up some of the clutter and decorations in the kitchen a little bit, as I mentioned before. I also made sure to include a chess table on the front porch and a little bench. And after finishing up the garage space, that completed the downstairs portion of the house, and we got to decorating the kids' bedrooms upstairs. I think overall this has pretty much become one of my favorite builds so far. I really enjoyed how the outside of the house ended up looking and the layout of the inside. And it's, fairly large with room for improvement or modifications depending on how your sim family needs to use it over time, maybe even like a generations type home. And I also think it would look good in a different environment. I don't think it needs to be on the beach. I think it would look just as good in like a traditional suburban neighborhood, like in Newcrest or even Willow Creek. But at this point, I've moved upstairs and I am currently decorating the parents' bedroom. The parents' bedroom sort of matches with the color scheme and theme of the rest of the house, as obviously I figured they would be decorating the entire thing. It's pretty simple with the light wood tones and pops of blue and teals and some shades of green. They have a closet space and then an ensuite bathroom, which is pretty tiny, but I will speak from experience. Having that extra bathroom to yourself is gonna be a godsend regardless of the size. After this, I end up very quickly decorating the hall bathroom as well. It's the shared kids' bathroom, if you will. It just has a shower in it. I don't really think a shower tub combo wouldn't have fit because of the window placement, but I think I maybe should have done just a tub, but for gameplay purposes, baths just take forever for the Sims. And if they were bathing the toddler, there is a tub in the parents' bedroom, which isn't too far away, so I don't think that's too far off. And after this, I go ahead and start decorating the nursery. It's green and yellow and very nature themed. I think as this baby got older, you could very easily turn this into a toddler bedroom and maybe even a child's bedroom as well, with the use of a bunk bed. But more than likely, I just see the kids probably sharing rooms as they get a little bit older, and this becoming some sort of guest room or something like that. The nursery is pretty basic though. There's some artwork, a little end table, a chair, and light, probably for when mom or dad has to be up late rocking the baby. Now, obviously, there's not a lot of actual gameplay with babies in The Sims. They're essentially objects, but I'm hoping that with the upcoming Sims updates, we get something a little bit better. Now I'm working on the daughter's room. I pictured this being for a child sim, but I think it could easily be upgraded to be a teen sims room as well. In my teenage years, my bedroom was still very childish until I finally upgraded it, I think probably my senior year of high school. So I don't really think that's too far fetched. I included a dollhouse for some additional gameplay, but they do take up a lot of space even sized down. So you could get rid of this and put an extra bed or even a desk in this bedroom as well. The last bedroom ends up being pretty simply decorated. I ended up using one of the matching sets that comes with base game, which I don't typically use very often, but I felt like it suited the build, as I was assuming all of the children in this house were on the younger side. But also, a lot of the swatches on the base game beds are just kind of terrible. I figured this kids' room was for two boys, one child sim, and then a toddler. I did include a desk in this room as I had not yet in any of the other kids' rooms, although we do have one downstairs in the study. Because I used a matching set, I think the room came together pretty quickly as far as decorating goes. I included a toy chest in the closet and then also added a toddler potty in the bathroom because I forgot it. And for the most part, this finishes up all of the bedrooms, and I just have the hallway upstairs left to decorate the build. Speaking of hallways, why are hallways so difficult to decorate, especially in The Sims? You want to make them functional, but there's not usually enough space to do so. I actually cut out a lot of footage of me trying to figure out how I was going to decorate this space because I didn't want it to be too symmetrical, but I also wanted it to be purposeful, and I ended up adding like a bookshelf and something else as well, but also wanted to make that like sort of entryway uh, sort of more grand from the downstairs. We slapped some artwork, a rug, a chair, and a light that matched with the decor of the rest of the house. And with the exception of a few tweaks here and there, that pretty much completes the build. If you like this build, please give me a thumbs up and let me know what you think in the comments below. If you would like to see this base game only build in your save file, you can download it from the gallery. My ID is hailsims. It is called the base game beach house, but you can also look it up with hashtag hailsims on the gallery. If you liked this video, please like and subscribe so I can make more for you. My lovely husband just made me some spring rolls, so now I'm going to go chow down. So I will see you guys for the next speed build video. Enjoy the screenshots and thanks for watching. Bye!